Hello and welcome back to Delivery for Business Unusual. My name is Edwin Cardoso and I'm here with my partner Ziad Mohammed. Today's conversation or topic will be relationships with a team. Ziad, how are you doing today? You're on mute.
So, the sentence that you just mentioned right now, it's funny, right? Um, was quoted as the most widely used sentence in meetings in 2020.
Wait,
You
wait,
are in mute,
oh, yes. Yeah, I would agree
right?
with that.
The
It's
most
happened a few
quoted or
times.
the most used sentence in a meeting. You are in mute. And you know what? I did this just for you to say the sentence. And this is just a manifestation of how much our meetings have changed. Yes, we used to have this every now and then. If you're on a bridge and you're in a meeting, someone would make this mistake, but then those meetings were not your everyday meeting. But now, when everything is online, you are a mute becomes just something very common, something that you would hear it on each meeting at least once, if not more. Of course, there's other funny parts of it, like all the jokes about how are you dressed, the joke that we keep seeing or hearing, and there's even memes about it. Someone who is dressed in a suit from the top and maybe shorts or track pants or whatever. There are even ads right now that talk about that. But then at the end of the day, this is how much we have changed.
I do have to mention, and I'll be upfront with you.
Yeah.
I'm dressed very nicely on top, and I'm wearing my cargo shorts underneath. So it is
I'm
something
not
with my
that
DM,
different
right?
either. Exactly. You're at home, you're working from home. Why do you want to feel uncomfortable when you
Exactly,
work? Right?
exactly.
It's
And and,
this is common. This is
and
common. All the jokes about people working from the kitchen top or how the kitchen table have evolved and ruled in the last year, right? What can you do on a kitchen table now versus what you were able to do before? I mean,
exactly.
again, this is all a manifestation of how the relation between us within teams and how the environment have changed.
Exactly, exactly. And it is a good segue because we're talking about the teams, how they're working together. It's almost like the norms we're talking about there now because you have to go on mute because
Mm.
someone might have a conference call happening in the background. Um, so, what are the topics if we're discussing relations within teams? How are we being more successful or succeeding through COVID as a team right now?
I think if we want to talk about one really important aspect of relations in teams, we need to talk first about digital bias, right? More than anything else, when the only when not only when the majority of our communication is done in digital ways, an email, a message on Teams or Zoom or whatever, or even on WhatsApp, right? Yes, we also speak on phones. We don't really meet as much, and we may have your video may or may not be on when you meet. Digital bias really kicks in, and it kicks in high gear. Someone sends you an email and you start reading into this email and you start jumping into conclusions and this is all of us about what this person may be thinking and what this person is trying to say, and very quickly it escalates in your mind and you come up or we come up with conclusions about what this person want to say, or okay, how this person thinks of me, or the attitude that this person have towards me. And it may or may not be true, and in many cases it's not. Maybe this person was not paying enough attention when he or she was writing this email. Maybe this is their way. Maybe you get to meet this, if you would have met this person, or he or she would have told you this in person, it would have came on totally different. But then the bias has been built, and it's hard to change once you start forming, or once we start forming some sort of an opinion about someone.
Yeah, and I see it from the person who's sending the information out there, the person who is asking for the request. Um, they're under stress. They're trying to work fast. They don't think they need to create the background conversation or clear it up. They just need the answer, right? So um, I can
True.
see where the digital bias comes in that way, and I don't know if it's about slowing down or if it's about just clarifying the conversation before you start.
If you meet me, you're managing a project, for example, and you need something from me, right? I'm late in sending you some information. If we meet while we're walking to get a coffee or at the getting a glass of water and you ask me, is one thing, but if you send me a note, it might become something totally different. It's the same ask.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same ask, right?
Mm-hmm. Good, good. Uh, so let's go into a slight kind of variation on that topic. Um, what's you've kind of mentioned it. How are we being successful in the past before COVID then?
I think the dynamics within teams have greatly changed because of that, right?
But are we
Because
being more efficient?
I wouldn't say more or less efficient. It's just been really different because even to become efficient, um, sometimes the best way to get things done is to walk over to someone's desk. He or she are really busy. Walk over, just tap him on the shoulder. Okay, can you please look into this? Well, that's not available now, right? You will have to call this person or send him a text message on his or her phone, not email, right? Because emails don't usually get things done. We all know that, right?
So I'm actually seeing it from a slightly different point of view for the fact that on a daily basis, my teams could be bombarded by 10 different people who had good relationships with leaders. Um, but what I'm trying to do with a few people that I mentor is why don't you create that funnel where everybody, or that intake system where everybody can still contact you. It could still be warm, and it could still be a very pleasant interaction or kind of response back right away. But you're not having to respond or answer the question or research the stuff right on the spot for the leader in front of you. So I might see that as a good way for my developers, so they won't be blocked, so they won't have to stop what they're doing and multitask. Um, but I'm understanding your point of view. Like, you lose the relationship if my developers never had the relationship with the leaders, then um,
How do you build it?
how do you
I
build it?
think this is
Yeah.
really the biggest challenge. But if you already had the relation and you're working remotely, and we interact remotely most of the time, there is a backbone. There is a relation, a human relation that was built that you can capitalize on. But we've never met before. I don't know who you are, right? And the first time we meet is digitally, right? And all the interaction between us is either on whatever conferencing platform, Zoom or Teams or whatever, or we talk on the phone, or we even exchange messages, text messages, right?
Yeah. So I,
How
I
do you
see that.
build? Yeah, how do you build this relation? And then the thing is, this takes us into formal versus informal communication channels, how these have evolved to, right? We have the formal, we have the business communication channels, but just because of the environment that we're in right now. So the informal communication channels before used to be, well, a coffee chat, or cooler discussions, or even going for lunch together. But those informal communication channels right now are a text message or a WhatsApp message or whatever, WhatsApp or Telegram or anything message, right? That because you don't have the means of physical interaction, or it's not really. So even the informal communication have really changed in this regard. The other day, one of the vendors that I work with wanted to entertain the team for lunch. And their approach for doing lunch is, okay, give me your address and I will send you an Uber Eat. Tell me what you
That's
like to
amazing.
eat. And then we will do a meeting. We'll all meet on Teams or whatever, right? And we will enjoy lunch together. It is the reality. This is basically what's going on right now.
That's amazing idea. No, it's just it's creating that moment
Exactly,
where
but that's so it's
Mhm.
creativity. It's you're trying to deal, and again, this is the beauty of being human. You adapt, and then you start to become creative. The sense of and again, I think this is a very important aspect. The sense of growth mindset within teams and the fostering of creativity to adapt and to overcome the challenges that we have. This is
yeah,
just an example,
yeah,
right? To that.
yeah.
Which
I
how do you
know
see that from your side?
I'm seeing something that's a service that's really been successful from two people that I've talked to this week is using Slack
Mm,
as the official channel where in the past we'd have the developers and different groups kind of informally chatting, but making one specific a group where you can ask your questions and you can get a product owner or someone to respond to you and say, okay, we're gonna think about it and put it in our backlog and stuff.
mm,
So for us, it's yes, you're right about the creativity around the solutions, but let's come up with those solutions um, so that and then publicize them to
mhm.
our customers or our leaders or whoever's giving us work. Publicize it to them so they know this is the standard they want to use.
Yeah,
Is really being successful right now. Really working for some teams that I have. Um, but I'd like to go in. Right, I mentioned about product owners. I think the one more important thing that we can do is have the product owners, the leaders, be accessible for our teams. And I don't mean just for stand up. I don't mean just for the demos. I mean maybe saying, okay, you know what? I'll come by this afternoon just in case you guys need something, or if I can answer anything, because maybe normally I
maybe
see
you want to bounce an idea off him, right, or her.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
you just have an informal discussion and just bounce ideas, right?
yeah, yeah,
You're in the middle of something, and you need to get the support from your leader,
yeah,
right? That okay, yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, it makes sense. No, you know what? I think you would be better off doing this, or you would be, and this is really where true leadership shines, right?
yes,
Especially in an environment like that, right? The sense, the concept of servant leadership. When you understand, if you're a leader, if you're a digital leader, or if you're a technical leader, whatever, that your role, first and foremost, is to support your team and give them the chance to prosper and to grow, right? And to be at best in what you're doing. So sometimes they need you to bounce an idea off you. They need you to be they need to be accessible to you. And I really like this idea, right, of maybe setting up a time or a channel where you know that if it's either this person is available during this time to ask question, or if I send a question along the channel, I will get a response.
yes,
It's not going to be lost in emails, or it's not going to be lost in whatever somewhere else in the flood of communication that we get right now.
exactly. And I'm having that trouble. I'm in
Yeah.
my emails. I might forget about someone's email because there's 50 of them coming after that original one, so it's hard to keep track.
I don't think you're the only one who have this issue. We all, I mean, I'm not guilty as charged. What can I
Yeah,
say? You lose track of emails. You try to highlight them and categorize them. At the end of the day, you may lose track.
exactly. Well, Ziad, it's been a good conversation. We've kind of I think hit the points that I want to hit. It. Was there anything else that you want to go over, or maybe say to our group?
Again, the team, and I know last episode we started talking about relations, inter and intra businesses, either within the team or outside the team. Um, I I think this is going to be a very interesting subject to talk about going forward. I mean, we touched today on the relation within teams, but then how does the relation between the different teams happen? And even on a greater scale, how does the relation between the different businesses? I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion to continue along these lines before we really move to another subject.
Perfect. And I love the idea that talk about the teams, how they interact. So the idea of scaling, and I'd like to
Yeah,
see your ideas on what the best way to scale would be. I, of course, with my campaign kind of background, have an idea of my own, but definitely looking forward for next week's conversation.
likewise.
Yes. So from myself, Edwin Cardoso, and from Zayed Mohammed, we'd like to just extend the request. If you have any comments, questions, please add them to our YouTube channel. or maybe send us private messages on LinkedIn. But we want to thank you and welcome again, and have a great week from Delivery for Business Unusual. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ziad. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.